Today we're going to be talking about failing to identify leaks. So Rob, when it comes to brands maintaining control over the sale of their products, maintaining their MAP pricing, and making sure that Amazon doesn't undercut them, what do you want to talk about in terms of failing to identify leaks?
Sure. So brand protection, and especially when it comes to removing unauthorized sellers, has a lot of different procedural aspects to it. Most sellers or most brands who work with our firm know that we never take action against a seller or an unauthorized seller without first sending a cease and desist letter. And cease and desist letters are important not just to provide the seller that we're communicating with notice of the dispute, but also because of the information that we can get from the unauthorized sellers.
So one of the main things that we do when we reach out to an unauthorized seller, whether they're undercutting the pricing or not, is that we ask for and we try and obtain the invoices from where the unauthorized sellers are obtaining your products. And that gives us information to help you identify where the leaks are or where the diversions are in your supply chain.
Right. This is an analytical approach. It's not enough just to send the letters and move through the process. Once the letters are sent, report infringement to Amazon. That doesn't work for the long term. If your brand isn't identifying where the unauthorized sellers are getting their products from, you can go and make as much success and as much progress as you want, but it's always going to come back to the problem repeating itself with new sellers who are sourcing your products from the same place.
So one of the things that I love that we do for brands large and small is to develop a better way of cooperation through your authorized wholesalers and through your authorized resellers to limit the diversion or to close those leaks, as we call it.
Right. And a lot of the time it comes down to making decisions or making decisions that you might not want to make. Brands can't always have the best of both worlds and offer their products in closeout stores like Marshall's and TJ Maxx, because that means that those liquidated items will likely end up on Amazon for less than MAP pricing. And the issue with that situation is that those sellers are typically smaller but larger in numbers. So let's say 10,000 units of your product goes to Marshall's as a closeout. That could result in hundreds of different sellers selling 5, 10, 20 units of the product. They're not a big fish in the sea, but it becomes a big overarching problem. So brands really need to make sure that they know where their products are going, but also knowing once they get there where they might actually end up.
So one of the things we recommend to a lot of larger brands, a lot of international brands, are stock limits. So in the short term, it would limit your sales to some extent, but over the long haul, there'll be significantly less units in this gray area where the products are 100% genuine, but you don't want them in this part of the distribution chain. What are the things that you recommend to our brands when it comes to distributors that are feeding the products outside the intended distribution chain?
Well, first, every brand should have written agreements and written contracts in place with their distributors to make sure that you can hold them accountable if they knowingly sell products to unauthorized sellers on Amazon. So that's the first thing.
A second thing we'd recommend to you is that, especially when you have a repeated diversion of inventory, that for those wholesalers, and this might hurt a bit in the short term, but to cut them off, you got to cut the bleeding off at some point. There'll be some time delay to recoup control of your distribution chain. But when you have the same wholesaler that you've identified as feeding your products to unauthorized sellers, that's a wholesaler you may want to cut off.
If your brand already has this issue where you're trying to fight off the unauthorized sellers to get the money back in your product, then your brand's demand is already there. It's certainly already on the Amazon platform, and it's certainly already in the retail sphere as well.
All right, if you would like to learn more about how we would strategically develop a brand protection program for your brand, how we would make sure that you can legitimately stop unauthorized sellers and efficiently remove the unauthorized sellers, you can contact me or Rob at any one of these 4 methods.